Okay, so today when we take a look at the Chronicles new movie He-Man figure, so let's check him out. Okay, so I just recently got two of these new Chronicles ones. I got He-Man and Skeletor. I'll probably get some other ones too later on, but I started out with the two main characters because that's always a good way to do it. So usually I do short on them before I actually do a video, but I've been really excited to actually review these. So without further ado, let's get into the packaging. Okay, so here's the new packaging for these Chronicles figures. The Chronicles are a little bit different than Masterverse. I think they're in a slightly smaller scale. So I don't know why they chose to do that, but they did. Now, see a picture of movie He-Man on the side, also Skeletor in the corner, which is interesting. You can do that. I'll show you here in just a minute. But it says Master Universe. That's the new movie logo there on top. There's what the figure to be packaged. It's He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe. On the bottom, deluxe articulation. Now this, I assume, is probably He-Man and probably a turning in scripture, I guess. I'm not entirely sure. But there's He-Man on the side and everything. On the back, you got a picture of the figures from the poses you can get them in and everything. There's a read up there if you want to go ahead and read it. You can go ahead and pause it. On the bottom, there's some other figures that are available. There's Man-at-Arms, played by Idris Elba, and Triclops. I'm not sure who played him, but like I said, I'll get into all that when I get those new videos on them. One interesting thing you can do with this, if you got Skeletor's packaging like I do, you can take and stick them together like this, and that makes a really cool display option right there. So the figure does come with two fisted hands here, as you can see, and there's not a lot of detail on these, but you can kind of closed fist, which is kind of a thing for He-Man to have closed fists. Which a lot of figures come with. A lot of He-Man figures do come with fisted hands. Now these are pretty easy to interchange. You just take the gripping hand off the wrist there. See, there's the. I can get okay. There it is. You put it on the peg like so. And it's pretty simple. Now you have a fisted hand, so choose to display them that way. Which I don't know. That does look cool, but I don't know if I would display them like that or not. But still, that's a pretty neat option if you want. Also, he comes with the power sword. You can't have He-Man without the power sword. Now, this is the new movie version of the power sword, which is really cool looking. It's like mostly like a silvery metal tone, which looks really cool. It's really reflective and everything. But the handle is brown, like it is in the movie. See, there's like some turning scripture down on the both sides of the blade there. It's kind of got that filmation kind of flair to it a little bit too. But see, this looks more like the original power sword. Like for instance, I got some others here I'll compare them to. Like here is the vintage one. It came with the vintage figure. See, very similar in design. And here is the Netflix Revelation/Revolution He-Man sword, which as you can see, it looks similar, but it's different. Each power sword, in each series, has a little bit of different styling. They kind of style for each, movie or series that they do. So they always make kind of unique to each one. And last but not least, here it is compared to the '87 live-action version. And it's quite a bit different than most power swords. For articulation, these Chronicles figures have quite a bit more articulation than some of the other Masterverse figures and such. And you can see he has a ball jointed head and a joint there at the neck, which is pretty cool. You can pop the head off pretty easy too, although he doesn't come with an alternate head, but still that's pretty easy to do that. You can do some custom head swapping if you choose. He's got like a butterfly joint there at the shoulder and a hinge and a swivel at the shoulder. Pretty good. He's got a double hinge there at the elbow. He's got a hinge there at the wrist, which you can hinge the wrist down enough where you can get that holding sort of off pose, which is not something we can do very often with most He-Man figures. The wrist won't articulate down that forward. I think the first Filmation version Mattel made could do that, but I like that. That's pretty cool. See, he's got a joints there at the waist and also at the chest and the waist there, as you can see. And his legs can be pulled down where you can get him in more dynamic poses. This is something you can also do with a lot of like G.I. Joe, the 6-inch classified series. Their leg joints do this as well, so that's pretty similar. He's got a double joint there at the knee. He's got a swivel there at the boot, and also a hinge and ankle pivot. So pretty good articulation. Let's take a look at the sculpt, design, and color of He-Man, starting with his head. As you can see, he has a pretty good likeness to Nicholas Galitzine, the actor who played He-Man in the new movie. And so it's a pretty good likeness. He's got the blonde hair and everything, more stylized for this movie. And so pretty good head sculpt. I really like this head sculpt. As you see, so now he's got the chest armor, which has a cross. On a lot of newer He-Mans have an H. The old ones had like the iron cross, so they kind of went back to the cross look, which I think is pretty cool. Kind of harkens back to the original He-Man. And you see, it's got silver in the middle there, and the cross is red like on the original. And it's also got the rest of it is brown, but it's got golden rivets throughout it, which is pretty cool, and a lot of detailed individual pieces and everything, which looks really cool. Going to the back, I forgot to mention with the sword a minute ago, but you can store it on the back, like so. Now the sheath on this reminds me more of like a wall hanger, like you would hang a sword on a wall with. The way this sheath does, it looks like I said, you would hang a sword on a wall with something like that. But the good thing about this, that would make it easier to actually remove, because if you had a really long sheath on your back, this thing would be hard to pull all the way out. So that would make it a lot easier to actually remove off your back. So that's a pretty good detail to reality. So let me move the sword out of the way so I can show you the rest of it. See, it's all silver. I don't know if there's any paint on this, but it's still pretty good. There's a lot of sculpting though, as you can see, a lot of individual sculpted lines and everything. There's where the sword actually sit into, which is pretty cool. See, some more golden rivets and things on the back there with the chest plate. Going to his wrist gauntlets, you can see they're brown with some silver, with the silver parts in the metal, silver parts there, and also like a gold, like bronze color there in the middle. Also some gold rivets there as well, which these can be removed if you choose to do that. And also going down to his loincloth, as you can see, it's very leathery looking. As you see, it's like leather straps going down with gold accents on them. This one's a little mispainted there, as you can see. That's maybe just a mishap on mine, I would think, but it's got metal belt buckle there with a gold piece of metal, more gold rivets around it. A lot of good details, a lot of paint on this leather to make it look like leather too, or should I say, it's painted to look like leather because it's not actually leather, but it looks like leather, so that's pretty cool there. See more golden rivets and everything. And going down to his boots there, he's got a bare leg, as you can see. Also, I forgot to mention he does have articulation there at his bicep. I missed that a minute ago. But as you can see, he's got really muscly legs and arms and everything, and which He-Man should. And so he's got his boots, which are painted also look like leather. It's got like a leathery texture to it as well. As you can see, a lot of individual pieces. There's buckles. The buckles aren't actually painted though, but as you see there. On the bottom, you have still more like buckles and leathery wash to make it look like leather. So pretty cool stuff. Not much more there at the bottom, but there's still a lot of paint there at the bottom though. So here he is compared to the vintage He-Man, and so there's some similarities, but a lot of differences. The original He-Man figure is well over 40 years old now, and it was my childhood He-Man, so that's why he's quite played with. So he got played with a lot when I was a kid. So. But that's what they were meant for, meant to be played with. But, there's a lot of good movies with that figure. There's, like I said, similarities and, some differences there. Here he is compared to the Origins version, which, that version is made a lot more about the vintage toy than the, movie one, which they made a movie one, I believe. I don't have that one. I'm made by that, I don't know. But, because, I got a pretty good bit of the Origins one, so I may end up buying that one in the future. But, like I said, this is the version that looks more like the vintage toy, which I did review this quite a while ago, I believe. But so you can go watch that. I have a playlist of Origin stuff. You can go find it pretty easy. Here he is compared to the Netflix Revelation/Revolution He-Man, because which I think they made an updated Revolution version, but it's kind of the same each one. So I guess you can consider it for both of them. Although they did kind of change it a little bit up towards the end of Revolution, but. So you can see there's similarities there, and if you notice, the Masterverse version is actually a little bit taller than the Chronicles one, because they're in a different scale. I don't know why they chose to do that, but they did. So a little bit different scale, and also the articulation is quite a bit different too in these newer Chronicle ones. They got a lot more articulation in those Masterverse. The Masterverse ones had good articulation; it was a lot better than classics, but these Chronicles ones have better articulation. Okay, here is the comparison I've been really wanting to do. Here is this new Nicholas Galitzine He-Man compared to the original 1987 Dolph Lundgren He-Man, coming up from that live-action movie. And yeah, I reviewed that figure quite a while ago, and like you can find that in my classic playlist. I have a playlist for each individual line, so it makes it easier to find which one you're looking for. But so if you want to go watch that, you can go watch that. And so which one of these I like better? That's a hard one because I really like that Dolph Lundgren He-Man because I really liked that movie when I first watched it. Although the new version looks more like original He-Man. The '87 one was kind of off a little bit, but back then they had a lot of constraints and stuff, because back then you didn't have CGI and all that stuff, so some things it wasn't possible to do, like Battle Cat and things. But in the movie they kind of stylized their outfits a little bit more too, and the new one's more true to the actual He-Man design. So like I said, I like them both for different reasons, but like I said, it's hard for me to pick one because I really like both of them. As you can see, the new Power Sword is, like I said earlier, it's more accurate to the actual Power Sword than the '87 version. But the '87 version is iconic in its own way, which I have Skeletor too, so I'll do this comparison when I do him. So when I review him, you'll see that one as well. I have a lot to say with that one too. So here are all the ones I have kind of given. Some of them I don't have. I don't have the 2000X version, the first classic version, so I'm missing a few. But here's all the generic He-Mans that I have currently in my collection. So I have some other variants of He-Man and stuff as well, like the vintage ones and stuff like that. But these are all just the generic He-Mans that I have. And I really like that pose. I'll probably end up displaying this figure in that pose if as long as my shelf room is wide enough, because that's a factor too. Sometimes if your shelf room ain't wide enough, some poses you can't get. But like I said, I like this pose. That's a really, really cool pose. But so what do I think of this figure overall? I really like this figure, and I recommend it. And like I said, being a big He-Man fan myself, I was excited when they announced this movie, and also by the time I'm recording this, I haven't actually watched the movie yet. So if I had to actually see the movie when I get a chance to watch it. So like I said, my thoughts may change after I watch the movie. I don't know, but like I said, I highly recommend this figure. And so if you want to see some more Chronicles reviews, give me a thumbs up. It helped me a lot. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Till next time.